Howdy, I'm Brian. Way before I did animation, I draw a bunch of characters, stupid guy included. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the characters I drew in the following list of these years: 2016, 2019, and the first 3 years of the 2020s. Without further ado, let's go. It all begins somewhere in 2016. I was just on my iPad, as per usual, and I did notice my parents got me some drawing apps to, well, draw of course, what else? But they're mainly just the ones that you need to fill the color in. Some that I remember using were a drawing app that was themed around a hit franchise at the time, Alvin and the Chipmunks, and a dinosaur themed one. I never really used it just to fill them with the color of my choice. Instead, I used it like if it were an open canvas with nothing in the background. I don't know why, but it just came up on my childish mind to draw a drink. And that drink was my absolute favorite at the time, Coca-Cola. It was a can of Coca-Cola. That was my first character. Because Coca-Cola, man, has some competition. It's not with me. Instead, it was Stampy. If you think you've heard that name before, you're not alone. I was inspired by Stampy, my childhood hero. And yes, as a kid, I wanted to be included in Stampy's love garden. Therefore, I made a bunch of drawings for him. Digital, of course. Now, what do you see here? It's Stampy, of course. I just said so. Or is it? Yes, it's Stampy. It just looks like me with no hair and painted yellow. The only reason why I sounded confused back there with Coca-Cola Man was mainly because of the timeline these characters were made. Like, what month did I make Stampy or Coca-Cola Man? Who knows, really? Along with Stampy, I made other characters that are related to him, like Squiddy and... We don't talk about him anymore. Let's just move on. This year was the absolute most superior of all time when it comes to making characters. Why? Well, these two I consider non-original characters. They're based off of something, and they are that something. For example, Stampy's based off of Stampy Longnose, the YouTuber. And he is Stampy Longnose, just with the different personality. These characters that I'm gonna list are original characters made up in my mind. These people are Stupid Guy, Smart Guy, Scaredy Guy, Fire Guy, and Handsome Guy, who I remember a long time ago was named Guy Guy. Yes, Guy said twice, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't have to explain it further. Not all characters have the word Guy in the end. There is Brian and my brother, Bradley. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, isn't that you? Yes, but they're not. They are different from me. They are alternative. They even have their own villain. What the fuck? Yeah, for some reason, years after I got traumatized from Sonic.exe, I thought it would be a good idea to add him as a villain for Brian and Bradley. Possibly replicate the torment they will have with him, like me? I don't know, I was a kid. What do you expect? I actually did a similar thing with Stampy. I made an EXE version of him. Basically, I was just like those EXE cloners. People who use family-friendly characters, or not, and make them evil. But somehow, that evil Stampy's a part of the friend group Stampy has. It's a whole can of worms with Stampy himself, honestly. And the villain Stampy is very similar to that evil Stampy, except he's just a king. All in all, the godfathers of the creation of Brian Animations were Coca-Cola, Stampy, and that blue bloody bastard. I clearly remember the plots I made for each character in my journal, where they all originated. Stupid Guy was just minding his own business until he stumbled upon a dollar bill. He tried to snatch it, but he got pulled up by a man above him, Smart Guy. With that, they fought each other. Scaredy guy, well, I actually don't remember his plot, so I'll just assume he was scared of something at least. Handsome dude was probably in the middle of a marriage, and Fire guy, well, I remember him very clearly. Therefore, I know what he's all about. Fire guy fell down. The end. It wasn't suicide, he just fell down on the floor. That was all. You might be questioning why I'm showing you this. Probably because you're one of those people that despise the show itself. But trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. Bryan Bradley. This is a show that includes me and my brother in it. You see, back in 2019, I was watching Pinky Malinky, which was available on Netflix, and I thought it would be a great idea to steal the plots of the episodes from the show and put it on my show. The show itself was actually a comic book series. Me, my family, my friends, the villain, all in one comic book series. Hell, I even animated the first episode back in 2022. Every single comic book plot of Bryan and Bradley were literally the plots from each episode of Pinky Malinky. It was up until the second to last comic book episode where it goes in a completely different direction. I die. Supposedly. And that led to my funeral. That was until it showed my tombstone, which revealed the main antagonist of the series, Evil Bryan, the Sonic.exe clone I made. Oh yeah. The truth is, that was not my tombstone. I somehow resurrected, and then defeated the villain, and then everyone celebrated me, and some girl character that was based off of real life that I clearly remember slapping her in the face and was sent to the principal's office, kissed me. Seems like comic book Bryan really had some bitches, unlike me. All in all, it clearly reveals how much of a fucking insane kid I was. With that said, let's move on. The 2020s. These days were fucking weird, man. When it comes to this subject, I mean. During the COVID times, I draw a bunch of my characters in one big Smash Bros. Like setting on my newly discovered app, Notes. I refer to it as a game. Really, it isn't. But it's more of like a concept if I make a game one day. That whole thing was a can of worms on that one. Just like Stampy. 2021. You might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't that you but with grotesque eyes? Yeah, I f***ing hated this shit nowadays. Hell, the disgusting design only lasted till late 2022. 2021 was an interesting year when it came to making characters. You got the United States flag itself, a Hello Neighbor knockoff character, along with his other neighbor, a Slinky, a crushed soda can, and of course, wait, doesn't that look a little bit similar to someone? Yeah, I'll just assume that I stole this particular character from a particular show that was brutally neglected by Nickelodeon themselves, just so they can focus more on the slump that will emerge in the 2010s, and fully declare it as my own character. A non-original character, of course. Trust me, I would get a copyright infringement, thanks to me stealing her. Well, now resume on Bryan and Bradley for this year, as the comic book series gets near its ending. Back in the 3rd grade, I made a girl as my enemy in real life. Pretty sure it was my fault for causing it, because they kept stealing the swing set from me. After yelling at her in the classroom months after, I went ahead and grabbed some paper and made a brand new second antagonist to the series. For reasons, I will not say the name of the second antagonist's name, due to her being based on a real life person. I don't want to dox someone. Somehow, Evil Bryan and Bryan fought each other at some point, and Bryan threw him at some toxic pond. What's the worst that could happen? Oh shit. I remember thinking in my mind, an invasion on my city that is taken over by the second antagonist, the slimy version of the second antagonist, and of course the mutated version of Evil Bryan. Wait a minute, Evil Bryan is also there? I guess that is a duplicate version of Evil Bryan in his original form. Meanwhile, the real one is the mutated one. They all have their asses beaten up somehow by Bryan. We see the second antagonist hold on to her life over a pond of acid. After considering her mind a little bit, she decides to throw herself in the acid as Bryan witnesses her disintegrating to death. I wouldn't consider that suicide, mainly because I believe she thinks she was harming the world around her and that she could have turned around her actions for the better. Well, she was harming the world already, more specifically, my city that I live in. And that's how the series ended. Except on the second to last day of elementary school, I made the first comic book sequel of Brian and Bradley, and for some reason has my dogs from real life. Is this based off of my world, or what? We're on to the year where I made the animated series, Stupid Guy. I only downloaded Flippin' on August, so I was still drawing brand new characters back then. For the most part, they're just non-OCs. Only one OC was made at the time. The characters are Baldy, which I'm pretty sure he was in 2021 or 2020 possibly. Newbie, a noob from Roblox. The blue crewmate from Among Us. A character from a very greedy mobile game, Kick the Buddy. And the only OC there is, the evil guy, who was the first main character that was based off of something that severely traumatized me as a kid. The evil guy was based off of something, and that something was Flippy. But it was to the point where he had some originality surrounding him, so that's why I call him an OC. A year before I decided to watch Happy Tree Friends to conquer my trauma, I had no fucking idea as to how the show goes, so I was just guessing at the time. The evil guy lives alone in a stickman-shaped continent, fully surrounded by stickmen. I don't know why one person committing a genocide on stickmen was a good idea in the first place, but here we are. It was the first show to ever show violence, and then blood, gore, and of course, cussing. The evil guy originated in this journal of mine. I remember drawing stuff in here, tracing, drawing of course, and putting my ideas and concepts for these characters. And one of those characters was Stupid Guy. The truth is, the first two episodes were based off of the stuff I drew as a concept of the Stupid Guy episode. Trust me, they are completely different from each other. The house design, the scenes, and the stuff they added in there. All of that took place during the summer of 2022. And that's where it ends. This journey before animation was one hell of a roller coaster. And I mean it. So, I appreciate you liking and subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.